and welcome back to another Yellowjackets recap and review here on Infamous Virus. Season 2, Episode 6, Key. Trapped inside on a snow day, the Yellowjackets revisit the highlights, humiliations, and traumas of health class. Ty and Van help each other kindly rewind. Misty explores joining a classic Cosmo American tribute band. Lisa helps Natalie carp the day, and Shauna gets a pop quiz on her cookie reading assignment. So after a week-long hiatus and, the cliffhanger of last episode, I was gonna say last week's episode, but it's been more than a week. There was a week off. So I think everyone's, excitement levels have been so high, because as we find out at the end of episode 5, Shauna is having her baby this episode. Before I watched it, I sort of had a prediction that I thought during labor, I thought Shauna was going to either, see the ghost of Jackie or be calling out for Jackie when she's, in pain and pushing or whatever, but that didn't happen, so I was wrong in that sense. I thought that was going to happen, though. Nice way to bring Ella Purnell back for a little cameo. But yeah, I had been thinking about this all week. I got really invested in the Yellowjackets subreddit on Reddit, and have been reading a lot of theories on that. So we start off with the scene of the Yellowjackets in health class in school watching The Miracle of Life. We haven't really, seen them in school like this, so I thought it was cool to have everyone sort of in the room together and see those dynamics before they all got stuck in the wilderness and stuff. You can sort of see Van, staring lovingly at Ty in the background of this scene, which I thought was really, really cute and sort of foreshadows them getting together and stuff. I really liked that, and then the whole Shauna and Jeff thing sort of foreshadowing that a bit more. And then we cut back to the wilderness, and Shauna is full on in labor, and Song 2 by Blur is blasting, which is just such a perfect song for that type of situation. I thought it was such a good needle drop. For a second when it started out, I thought it was 1979 by Radiohead, because there was dialogue over it, and I sort of recognized that. I was like, oh, they're doing a Radiohead needle drop, but no, it was Blur, which was so exciting. I'm such a big Blur fan. I'm really glad that this show made it into the show, and in such a cool way and a cool scene. I love that they're so good on the needle drops this season. Then we have all that stuff going on in the wilderness. Stress levels are high. We cut back to present day, and Misty sort of unloading her purse in her pockets at Lottie's compound. And I noticed in the scene there's a tiny little bottle of Bon Mama jam that Misty had on her, which I think is so cool. And honestly, I should start carrying around a little bottle of jam in my purse. And also, it's just really good jam. Then we cut back to the wilderness, and Misty's under a lot of pressure. As we know, sort of just as she gets back and Shauna gets into labor, Crystal died, and it's all Misty's fault. So Misty's going through the motions with that while trying to help Shauna deliver her baby and just doesn't know what to do. I'm really surprised they didn't play under pressure, but I think that would have been a little too on the nose. Misty sort of, especially in the first episode, when she is captaining in a sense, caring for everyone's injuries and stuff, it was so interesting for her character to see her under such pressure and just completely crack because something else has just completely consumed her with Crystal dying. And as we know, she says to Lottie later, her and Crystal had a plan to deliver Shauna's baby, and they were going to do a song together. That was really funny when she's sobbing and she was like, we were going to do a song, which is so true, girl. We also get a really cool shot a couple times in this episode from Shauna's point of view, where we see her legs up and all the girls sort of around her. And I really love that they do that, because I think it just shows sort of the circle of support around her, but also the claustrophobia of all these girls surrounding her, crying and being scared. I think that's the last thing I would want to see if I was a teenage girl giving birth in the woods, basically alone, because no one there is an OBGYN or a delivery nurse or anything. So stress levels were high. I barely even took any notes during this episode because I was so stressed. I get so worked up watching TV shows. It's so bad for me. But I think it just goes to show how good this show is that I couldn't look away enough to take notes. So my notes are very short for this because I was just so... Literally, my note after that is I'm so stressed because it was a very stressful episode. We cut back to the compound, and Misty is drumming in this drumming circle at Lottie's compound, and it's really funny because everyone else is just tapping out the beats and stuff, and she's I thought it was really cool. We go back to the wilderness, and Akila helps Shauna deliver her placenta, which came out first, which is not what's supposed to happen. And I honestly thought when they pulled it out, they were going to cook it and eat it, but they did not. But then also Lottie talks to Misty and like gets her morale back up, and Misty's back between Shauna's legs helping her deliver the baby. In the present day, we see Shauna and Callie going to the police office, and Sarkuza is just such a slimy bastard when they show up, and he's just leaning against the wall and he's like, "Hi." Slimy bastard. Basically groomed a teenage girl a little bit to get information out of her. Went undercover without, like, checking it out with his superiors first. Like, bad cop. Bad cop. So there's some really good scenes with Taisa and Van this episode where they're sort of working through, I guess, like, the struggles of their relationship ending, and then Ty showing up out of nowhere asking for help. And I really like that Taisa gets a call from Misty, who was calling off the landline in the kitchen at Lottie's compound, and she just has Taisa's number memorized. Like, I don't think I even know my best friend's phone number off the top of my head. So it's crazy that Misty knew Taisa's number off the top of her head, but then again, it's Misty, and that doesn't surprise me that she has everyone's numbers memorized. So back in the wilderness, the baby is born, and he's a healthy, beautiful baby boy, and everyone's so excited and proud of Shauna, and they didn't immediately grab him and eat him, which I thought was going to happen, which was very exciting, and I really thought that Shauna was going to name him Jack or something. She doesn't actually end up naming him, which we know why. But yeah, I was so happy. I was texting everyone I know, and I was like, the baby on Yellowjackets lived, and they didn't eat him right away. I was like, thank God. We cut back to the present day, and we've got another scene of Jeff in the minivan rocking out, and he's listening to Fuck the Police outside the police station, which is just, I laughed out loud. They've been doing such a good job with Jeff's character this season of just being like the most like Jeff he can be, and just like that's so funny, just listening to that song. And then they show it, like, on his phone, which means he, like, sat there, punched that into Spotify or whatever, put it on, and is just rocking out to that. We get a really, really, really well-acted scene from Shauna in the police station where she's sort of talking to Sarkuza about how, you know, like, she never wanted to be a mom and she just had Callie to save her marriage. And it was, like, it was so well done, I didn't know if she was telling the truth or if she was just a really good liar and was just trying to think of ways to, like, totally overwhelm him with information and personal stuff that, like, he can't sort of get the real story out of it. I'm also surprised she didn't play, like, the Yellowjackets survivor card. I don't know, I feel like if I was in that sort of situation and I had something like that up my sleeve, where I could be like, well, I survived a plane crash as a teenager and yada yada yada, so I can't be held accountable for the things I do because of what I went through as a teenager. But also, I don't think that's the kind of person Shauna is. Callie lies to the cops again to try to save her mom, and she says that she had sex with Sarkuza, which is such... It was such a baller move when she's like, we'll take it to a jury and we'll see who they believe. Like, oh my god, she's such a baller. I mean, it's like, it's terrible that she's being corrupted in a sense because of this, but also she's like really good at figuring out ways to sort of rectify the situation to have it go her way. So we jump back to the wilderness, and obviously where Shauna's been starving for months along with the other girls, she's not able to feed the baby because obviously she's not even getting enough food for herself, so how would her body have the food to make like breast milk? And she wakes up and the baby's not in the crib, but it looks like Lottie's feeding the baby or rocking the baby. It was hard to tell. I feel like she was feeding the baby. I didn't really get a good look, because it was a big moment. So yeah, this episode was so fucked up. Oh my god, it was fucking crazy. We jump back to present day and we get Natalie killing the fish, or so we think. Yeah, I think this was a really good scene for like the symbolism of like Natalie saying that everyone she loves gets hurt in some way, and she like can't take care of people. And then we see her kill the fish, but then it turns out the fish is alive and she feeds the fish, which I think is a good way of showing how she's gonna like work on this in the future. There was a really good scene with Natalie and Lisa this episode, and I think Lisa's doing a lot of good for Natalie, so I'm interested to sort of see if Lisa has any background at all, because obviously our theory of Lisa being the wilderness baby was debunked by the end of this episode. We jump back to the wilderness, and Shauna is able to feed the baby, which is very exciting. However, I was a little worried there was going to be a scene where she would wake up and the other girls would be like stealing her breast milk to drink or whatever. That was sort of one of my theories for this episode. I really thought they would have her pump her breast milk and then they would all drink it to sustain themselves, which would be very weird and is totally just like a for survival thing. But I really thought that was going to happen. So we're nearing the end of the episode now. The stakes are high, and we finally see the 6 surviving Yellowjackets reunite in this crazy scene. I've said this in one of my previous recaps, and I was really thinking when they all see each other in a group again, they were going to revert back to their teenage selves, and it would be their teenage actors, like, portraying them. They didn't do that, though, but I feel like they could still do that in a future episode. However, when Van looks at Lottie, she's got this, like, shocked, like, almost afraid look on her face. So I feel like something went down between Van and Lottie, either after they were rescued or during the time in the wilderness, or even as adults, maybe. So I can't wait to see how that works out. We also see an overhead shot of Lottie walking towards the group, and we see the symbol is on the ground in the compound, which was such a crazy fucking shot. It was so cool. As soon as I noticed it, I was like, holy shit! So I don't know if maybe Lottie did that intentionally, or if that was something like the wilderness did. I mean, I think it was, because it was a little too kind of planned in a sense, and like, how would you get that view on the ground? And I think one line is like tire tracks or something, so I don't know, I thought that was so cool. We cut back to the wilderness, and Shauna wakes up, and the baby is gone, and she hears the girls out in the front part of the cabin singing, and she walks out, and they're all there, and they're covered in blood, and they can't look at her. And I was like, oh my god, they fucking ate the baby. I was like, they did it. They said they weren't gonna do it, but they did it. And then Shauna actually wakes up, and none of it happened, and she had the baby, and it died while it was being born, which was, oh my god, like, the actress that plays young Shauna, Sophie Nélès, I think that's how you say her last name, it's French. Oh my god, the acting she did in this episode, and then she's holding the baby, and they have it, like, wrapped, so we never actually get to see what the baby looks like, but when she's screaming, like, I can hear him crying, I was like, oh my god, she's gonna be fucked up for the rest of the season, I think. I think she's gonna be going through some shit. It wouldn't surprise me if she does a similar thing that she did with Jackie with the baby and is just hanging out with the corpse of the dead baby all the time. It also sort of totally debunks any theories about the wilderness baby surviving and being a character we meet now, which was, like, crazy. Like, everyone thought the baby was going to be such a big thing and they were going to eat the baby and they were going to do this, and the wilderness baby is so-and-so, and then the baby doesn't even make it, which is so sad, and everyone is so sad. So I can't wait to see what happens, because obviously I'm very invested in the show. However, it is also devastating, and I think just the stuff in the wilderness is just gonna hurt. It's just gonna hurt probably for the rest of the season. I think we've only got 3 or 4 more episodes. Apparently there's supposed to be a 10th episode, but that might just be rumored. I also heard that there was going to be, like, episode 9 and 10, but then they ended up cutting episode 10, and episode 9 is just going to be super long, like a 2-parter. So I'm interested to see what they do with that. But yeah, this was such, like, a knock it out of the park episode, and I really hope when award season comes around, this episode gets nominated, because the acting in it was all phenomenal. Everyone gave it their all. It was such a big episode for, like, character development and, like, plotline development. Like, Shauna had her baby, which is the big thing that was going to happen in the wilderness plotline. Like, all the Yellowjackets are reunited at Lottie's compound, so I can't wait to see where that goes from there. Man, like, I think the week off sort of helped build suspense for what was going to happen in this episode, because it gave people time to talk about theories. Also, last Friday, there was a reviewer that got, like, a press screener of episode 6 and put the review out early, so there were actually people that watched it before the video got taken down and knew what was going to happen. And I almost read one of the things on Reddit where someone had listed the whole plot for the episode, but I didn't, and I'm so glad I did, because even though it was, like, a stressful as fuck situation watching it, just because of what was happening, I'm so glad that I didn't have it spoiled or anything. It was literally the first thing I did when I got up. I watched the show. I'm literally moving today. my whole life is in boxes on the floor. But before I can move out, I was like, I need to watch Yellowjackets and do my podcast on it. So this is also going to be the last episode of anything I do with this backdrop, because I'm going to be in my first house with my boyfriend, which is very exciting. So yeah, next week you'll be watching this Yellowjackets recap, and there will be a different background here. So yeah, stay tuned for that, and let me know what you thought of this episode down in the comments. I feel like this episode's really going to divide people, so I'm really excited to see sort of people's theories of what they think is going to happen now. And yeah, just waiting for next week's episode. I think it's going to be a crazy couple final episodes, so I can't wait for that. So yeah, thank you so much for watching. Make sure to like, share, and subscribe. As I said, let me know what you thought of the episode down in the comments. And I hope you have a great weekend. And I will see you soon. Stay groovy.